get to know who you are first, and then I will introduce myself. And then I want to go over some questions that you have, and then I will kind of give you an overview about what to expect about post-bac programs. I do have a slide deck. It's called Postbac 101, where I cover a little bit in depth about like what are post-bacs in general, how can they help, and then I will dive in a little bit more deeper into our post-bac programs here at KGI and how do they help students. So I would like to do this popcorn style. So usually I pick someone and they tell me a little bit about themselves. I keep it very low stakes, like what you had for breakfast, if you had breakfast, or if you prefer coffee or tea, something very low stakes, whatever you want to share. And then if you have any questions, I'm going to actually write them down to make sure that I cover any questions that you have so that I can make sure that I incorporate that in our talk today. So I'm going to popcorn Julie, because that's the first person I see to my right. And then you can popcorn someone else.
You want to know what I had for breakfast? Orange juice and raspberries. Nothing sweet. Anyway, and I'm sorry, what was the second part of the question?
Oh, if you have any questions or what do you want to know about post-bacs?
I would like to know of anything specialized that would allow an applicant to get clinical experience. That's really the focus, because I've had applicants currently in some very high-level institutions that have not been getting their clinical experiences due to the pandemic, and they've gotten tons of research, which is awesome if they wanted to be researchers, but in fact they're academically doing well and need that clinical. And I understood that there are such things as clinical post-bacs, but I'm not familiar with them. The other thing I'm concerned about is post-bac like research opportunities where you might actually get to work with a primary investigator and do some of that research and then apply it by actually meeting with clients. So those are the things that, might be great for an applicant to experience before med school and really better understand what direction they're trying to go.
Perfect. Love that, Julie. Just bring it all in. I'm going to try to touch bases on all those points, specifically about our clinical experience opportunities for students. Thank you so much. You can popcorn someone else.
Okay, Chanel, you're next.
Okay. So for breakfast, hi, I'm Chanel. So for breakfast, I had just like rice and like barbecue hot dogs. Pretty simple. Something that I want to, I guess, get to know about for post-bacs is like kind of like what you said for the clinical hours. I haven't had much experience because of pandemic and everything, but I want to know, I guess, more experience on like working with patients, working with people, just interactions I can like gain and like apply later in my career.
Awesome. Very awesome. If you want to popcorn, last but not least, Carlene.
Yes.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Carlene. I had eggs for breakfast and I drink tea, no coffee. I am basically wanting to get some information because a non-traditional applicant. I do have a bachelor's in biology, but I graduated quite a while. It was about 8 years ago. And so I'm sort of like in a toss-up between like, should I do a master? Should I do a post-bac? Like, because, I go on these different webinars and I hear like different, stories, and I'm just looking for something that will make, my application stand out, get a little more, research maybe or clinical hours under my belt through the program. So that's kind of like what I'm interested in.
Awesome. Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is great. This is awesome. Lexi, would you like to go ahead? I'm going to popcorn you.
Hi, everybody. My name's Lexi. I'm the Director of Outreach at KGI. So I'm just here to join in case you all have any questions I can help answer about admissions or, need any further information. So please feel free. I'll put my info in the chat. So you're welcome to reach out to me after today, either just to ask questions or to get in touch with Elba as well. And I'll try and monitor the chat too. But it seems like we're going to be able to have a nice, good conversation. So you're not going to need the chat too much. And I made pancakes for breakfast today.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I didn't make breakfast. But I came, my colleague brought me some crust, and students left cookies for me in my mailbox outside. So I ate one of them. So I did eat, I guess you can say, one cookie for breakfast, which is not the healthiest, but I will make up for it for lunch. But I do have my intro here in the slides. I think it might be helpful for you to visualize and see what are some of the things that we're talking about. I will pause. Hopefully it doesn't make folks dizzy when I pause and pop up, just so I can see everyone here as well too. I also want to introduce my colleague. Our founding program director is Dr. Jun Kim. So he started this program here at Keck Graduate Institute about 11 years ago, and then I came on board in 2015. So together combined, we have 30 plus years of experience working with post-bac students and pre-health students. So a little about me. My name is Elba Munoz, and I was born in East LA but raised in Pomona, which is the neighboring city from Claremont here. And the students just love to hear that because it's so close by and they know where that's at. So I'm first gen. I went to Cal State Los Angeles for both my undergrad, post-bac, and grad school. And the funny thing is, I also worked there. So I have 10 years of pre-health advising experience. I'm coming up on my 11th year, which is pretty exciting. Some hobbies: I do raise a human child and plants since I was a kid, and I have lots of pets. I am a coffee enthusiast, and I'm an amateur iPhone photographer. I try to take good pictures. I think I have more pictures of plants than I do my kiddo because he's always running around, so it's kind of hard to see him or be still. So these are some pictures of some of our students. Actually, I should say our alums now. This group here to the right, the ones in the white coat, they just graduated 2 Saturdays ago from medical school. So this was really cool of them to send us a picture of them in their white coats. But 2 Saturdays ago, they all graduated from medical school, and they are traveling to get to their residency location. Some of them are coming back to California from Michigan. That's where they went to medical school. And some of them are traveling to different places to start their residency, which is pretty exciting. So I appreciate all of your questions and kind of a heads up, and I will incorporate all of that into our talk here. But I wanted to start off with a bit of a generalization because it's important to have a little bit of context and understanding, like what are the brief overviews of our post-bac programs, and then I will share some tips on how to stand out for them, and then I will dive in a bit deeper with respect to our post-bac programs at KGI and how do they help. And then summer program options. I think it's really worthwhile for folks to know about our summer programs. We do a lot. But before I get started, I'd like to share the medical school timeline. We do have students who are mostly pre-med or mostly pre-PA. We do occasionally get students who are pre-dental, pre-optometry, or physical therapy and occupational therapy, but then they tend to switch, or pre-podiatry. So we do have a couple of folks who choose other health professions, but these programs were designed mainly for pre-med. So this slide deck is one of my alums created it, and I said I wanted to borrow this because this is a perfect timeline of what people expect it to be. Very linear, like there's no things that happen. It's just like a straight linear, what people often think that the med school timeline is. But how it really is, and what you see here is this like little explosion that happens here in life, and that's just what happens. And so you sometimes will find that your path is taken in for a loop, and you're doing a U-turn, or you start back where you started from. So this is actually a more realistic observation of what the reality really is like for med school timelines. So for folks who may not be familiar with what exactly is a post-bac, I like to have this talk with people because it's just an umbrella term to describe what people continue to do after their baccalaureate degree is conferred. It's like a lot of people call it post-bachelor's, but it's really work that you're continuing to do, and there are different ways to go about this as well too. So for some folks, they get confused when they hear about different types of curriculum that's offered, and they're like, so is that not a post-bac? It can be still a post-bac. So I just want to say that it's an umbrella term used to describe these types of programs. And so when I say that, folks are like, okay, I get it. I actually had to do a career changer post-bac to get into grad school. I had to take a lot of prerequisite programs. So I like to have this this talk as well too, or this included in my talk as well too. So career changer sounds just like what the title is, right? It's designed for people who need to take prerequisite courses in order to get into additional programs or seek different opportunities, and so they may get a certificate or they may not get a certificate, but these types of programs do exist. For those in the pre-health sector, you do have to take your core science requirements, so like the biochem, OChem, human anatomy, and physio, depending on what the programs may offer. So they do have pre-health career changer type programs, but career changer post-bacs exist for a lot of other programs as well too. And the duration's about a year or two. It really just depends on how fast you go, or depending on, you know, how everything is streamlined for you in terms of the courses. So I will stop at certain points to kind of see if there's any questions, but based on the questions that you asked me earlier, we're going to be able to cover most of those as well here through this talk. So this is the fun one for me. Record enhancer, GPA boosters. These are the types of post-bac programs that most pre-health students are familiar with, but they are designed for students to get that GPA boost. And these are for students that need to specifically boost their science GPA. They've typically already completed their core science classes. They're usually like the bio majors, or, you know, sometimes we have like kinesiology. We do get students who have different majors like English, philosophy, but they still completed their pre-health courses either like in the midst of their undergrad or even right after they completed their undergrad. But for the most part, record enhancer programs are designed for students that have their prereqs, but they need to do additional academic boosting. They're typically structured, and the duration is 1 year, depending on the type of program as well too. I also like to talk about SMPs because these are oftentimes like words that are kind of tossed around and folks may not be familiar with what they are. What is an SMP? Is it like a post-bac or not? It can be seen as a post-bac, but there are some programs that are like considered special masters programs where they're typically affiliated with medical schools or like big universities, and this is where students take graduate level science courses, and so they are structured. They can be 1 to 2 years depending on the program, but they are designed for students to earn a master's degree. And so I have this little chart here that kind of just separates the two, and I think it helps students understand like, well, which one's right for me? Do I need an undergrad where I can retake courses, or can I take new courses? So the post-bac programs, depending on what they offer for their curriculum, is going to be different. And so you may need to do undergraduate science curriculum, or you may want to do graduate science curriculum. And so this is where I get students that often say, I'm so confused, I don't understand, like which one's better for med school? It depends. And so this is where it just really depends on your journey. What do you want, and what is going to help you get successful for the next steps? And so always thinking about what's ahead and what's going to help you. So each of these programs are going to offer different things. Some of them might be a certificate, and some of them may not be a certificate. For graduate programs, they may also do like a hybrid, like you get a certificate, or it can lead to a master's degree if you want to. And so I'm going to talk about DIY next, because some students are thinking like, well, if I just need to take classes, can I go to community college? My answer is yes. You can go through community college. You may have to retake some classes. And I tell students, like, if you have a C- or below, and it's a prereq for med school, you want to consider retaking it because it will help boost that undergrad science GPA. So once you graduate, we cannot go back in time, right? I say the DeLorean, but students are like, I've never seen that movie, so I date myself here. We can't go back in time and, you know, retake these classes. So you can take the classes after your bachelor's degree is conferred, and it will still be aggregated in the eyes of med schools or health profession schools. So they do take an average of this. And this is where, for some folks, they might find that helpful or even confusing. And we've had some students who've done this DIY postbac, but then they realize I need more help and support, or I need other resources, and then they apply to postbac programs. I've seen that as well too. Also, taking courses through extension is something that you can also do here in California. I'm not sure where everyone's at. I should have asked that earlier too. You can go through the UCs, or you can go through the CSUs or other colleges as well, but you can take courses what we call a la carte, or without being an officially admitted student into a program. So that is a possibility. What happens is when you do this DIY, it's kind of like these DIY projects or these Pinterest projects. They may not go as planned, or if they go as planned, they may just take longer, and you're going to be doing this by yourself, and you may not have, you know, the support system or an advisor or mentor to help you along the way. But you're, you know, the benefit is that you are going at your own pace, but just you may expect some delays, right? Because with your timeline, depending on when folks want to apply. So I'm going to pause right here. We have some new folks who are joining us. Welcome. Is this Kai who's here joining us? Oh, they may not be able. Okay, maybe they're not able to speak up here. Any questions so far before I continue on? Is everyone, we're okay? All right, awesome. So I'm going to go back here. Now I'm going to share with you some tips on how to stand out for a postbac. So you're going to get like a overwhelming amount of information here. So if you need me to pause or go over something, just let me know. So what are some things that you can do to stand out? I'm going to ask the audience, so feel free to put it in the chat. What do you think you need to do to stand out for one? Let me put the question here again. What do you need to do to stand out? What do you think? Julie says many clinical hours. Ooh, now the other folks are like, oh my gosh, I need to have many clinical hours. What does that number look like? Yeah, diverse experiences shadowing. Okay, very good. Great personal statement. Good grades. Guess what? All of you are correct. You do need to have some clinical experience. You do need to have some sort of immersive experiences in healthcare because you are going into the health profession. So we want to know that you've actually put yourself in a position, maybe shadowing or done some sort of clinical volunteer opportunities. Authentic descriptions of interactions with clients as volunteer. Yes. Yes, so that is all good stuff here. Absolutely. The other thing too that we're looking for is an upward trend. So most people need to do a postbac because they want to increase their science GPA. So we are also trying to mirror what med schools do. And so we're looking for this like upward trend with students' academics. We're looking to see if they've done some community service. You don't have to do a whole lot. But we're looking for folks to have kind of like dabbled in things and that we know that they're committed and are kind of going on this path. So here's just a couple of things. All of what you mentioned in the chat is awesome. So in the personal statement is where I'm going to spend a little more time here. So this is where you have the opportunity to tell the admissions committees what is your journey like towards medicine? Like what has happened, or why are you wanting to do this type of career, and how can our programs or their program help you, right? The other thing I tell students to include is to talk about if you had to overcome adversity, maybe your first gen, maybe you had to work while also taking care of a parent or a sibling. Is really important to include that in the personal statement, as we can also, understand what was that like and why you would need to do a postbac to help strengthen those academics. So if there are any academic discrepancies of, we've had some folks who've taken the MCAT like multiple times, or if they had a leave of absence, and so that's something that we may not be able to understand from looking at your transcripts or your resume, where we may need to have a little bit more information. The other important thing is to have an error-free personal statement. I tell folks, like, have folks look at it and make sure you drop it into this like Grammarly app that they have now, where it kind of checks for grammar and all of that. Make sure the spelling and the messaging is what you want it to say, because the personal statement is really important. And this is also good practice for when you're applying to med school and beyond, right? The other important thing that I tell folks is strong letters of evaluations or recommendations, or references they're called, from your mentors, faculty, people who know you very well, because that's going to give us additional insight about who you are and why are you seeking these opportunities, and how can we help you. And sometimes the letter writer helps us to understand if you might be a bit more on the shyer end or much more introverted, because that will be very helpful for us to know when we are interviewing you. If you're kind of more on the shyer side, we understand like that's part of their personality, but we can help you with coaching and doing all of that if you're in our program. So that's just really helpful and insightful information for us. And so I like to also include like what are some things to consider when looking at programs. Oftentimes the mission fit of the school it can give you a little bit more insight about their community, but I think it's also important to visit the school, speak to their alums, speak to their current students, and kind of find out what the environment is like. My training is in sociology, so I'm a huge believer that if you're in the right environment, you're going to thrive, you're going to feel successful, and you're going to want to continue on, because that's really important to on your journey, especially because you're going to be with like-minded individuals. Is it a small cohort, big cohort? What is the curriculum like? Do they do extracurricular activities? All of those things are going to be really important. And so I also tell folks to look at, are there any potential like linkages or relationships? So to me, these are really important, but I think what's even more important is if the program directors or advisors or mentors have relationships with medical schools or other programs, where do their alums go? How often do they keep in touch with them? And so are they accessible in terms of advocacy for their alums, like when they're applying? Because that is really important. As relationships take time, and so that is something to consider and think about. Resources, financial costs. I wish that we didn't have to pay for programs, but that's not the case. Unfortunately, there's a lot of program fees, but there's a different range of them. So every program offers different things, but where are you going to get the most like bang for your buck, right? So think about that as well too, and what are those resources and how do they actually use that tuition money, and does that really go back to students as much? So think about that. Alums and networking is really important. We are a very young school, and I tell folks that even though we are a very young school, our alumni network is very strong, and that's because of the community that has been, fortified here at KGI. And even when students leave, they return as alums and give back to our community so much more. So that is really important. So there will be opportunities to also network with our alums as well too. So how to make the best of your postbac. So let's just assume you applied, you got in. Now, how are you going to make the best of it, right? Co-curriculars are really important, but you don't want to do what happened in undergrad, where you did so much, or you just got too busy, or you weren't able to keep up with your grades and things like that. So you want to have a balanced approach to this as well too. If you are lacking with clinical experience and need community service or leadership, what are those things that you can develop and shine your post-bac year? Because you only want to do one post-bac once, right? And so you want to make the best of it. And so you want to think about it, kind of map this out, or what are some goals that you plan to accomplish with that. And then the other thing too, MCAT and GRE prep. We have some students who take care of the MCAT before coming to our programs. Some of them will decide already, I'm going to do the MCAT after I'm done with the program. I'm going to focus on academics. And so there are some who decide that they want to do it all together. And what happens is I often see students keep pushing back their MCAT because they want to do so many other things. They want to spend time with their friends doing these like community service or leadership opportunities. And so they kind of put MCAT on the back seat. So I tell folks, like, you may want to just reprioritize and then focus on what are some things that you can do. So I'm seeing more and more students take on like what I call growth years after they're done with their post-bac as well too. So that's very common. So also support and guidance is really important. I tell students, as you're applying to post-bac programs, do you have access to those resources or some of those resources to the program directors and advisors even after you've graduated? And so I think that's something that's really important. I tell students as they're looking into post-bac, see if you can meet with their program directors and advisors, find out what other responsibilities they have, because sometimes post-bacs have faculty advisors. So the word faculty advisors, students may not be familiar. So they're faculty first, so that's their first responsibility. They may have research and then they may do advising like 10 or 15% of their time. So you may not have as much accessibility to them. Plus if they have a lot of other students as well too. So something to think about and consider as well too. So I just put some helpful tips to find your post-bac programs as well too. The AAMC is a great resource. When you are looking at programs, you want to develop like a pros and cons list, right? And see what do you like, where do you see yourself, and who have you already spoken to, and what does that accessibility look like for you? And so do you have to move across, or is that part of the plan? Do you want to move across, states or maybe, different counties? We do get a lot of commuters as well too. So just something to consider, like, do you want to be commuting? Is that something you did in undergrad? And so is that like something that you want to avoid? So we do have on-campus housing. I kind of just tell folks about that as well too. So kind of already talked a little bit about like speaking with their advisors and mentors, but whatever program you decide to do, I tell folks like post-bacs work, but they only work if you do really well and you shine in the program. It's kind of like gyms, right? Like you can get a gym membership, but are you going to get the six-pack? Well, you only get the six-pack if you like put in the work, right? So I tell folks a little bit about that. All right, are we all good here? Any questions before I move on to the next thing? I know I'm kind of talking a lot. I might be talking a little bit faster. Lexi, let me know if I need to slow down. We're all good? All right, cool. All right, so now this is my favorite part. So hopefully this gives you like a big overview about what to expect for post-bac, some tips, helpful things, and then we're gonna dive in deeper about how can KGI's post-bac programs help you on this journey. And so quick program overview. So our program is designed for students that have completed their science prereqs. And so this is for students that also have an interest in wanting to learn the other side of medicine, is what we often address. So our curriculum is the synergy of the applied life sciences and the business aspect of the world of medicine, right? The other side as well too. So it's often known as like biotech. And so it becomes really helpful for students to have this understanding and this perspective when they go on into the health profession. So I think it's pretty exciting. So our post-bac programs are 1-year programs, and so our programs are designed to help students like increase their academics, but the other important thing is that our courses are graduate level. So they're a bit more rigorous from undergrad courses, and so I tell folks like you will have a clean slate science GPA when you start our program, and so that can also help and create that upward trend GPA for med school. So In terms of some program highlights, so my colleague and I teach the pre-med professional development course, and this is designed for students to get all of their assistance with the med school application. We also cover educational psychology in the fall, and we cover motivation, how to set up SMART goals, time management, how to prioritize and plan out your journey as well too. In the spring, we cover a lot of the personal statement, extracurricular activities. We do have a lot of interview coaching and preparation that's also built into our program as well too. So in the fall, we typically have one-on-one recorded interview sessions for students, and so we actually sit down and watch the recording with students, and then they get to see themselves. Some of the students are like covering their eyes like, I don't want to see myself, but it's really important for them to see what they look like on the camera and know what they're doing and where they need to improve in order for them to do better. So the other component that we do in the spring is we put together a huge multiple mini interview, and we go through 12, sometimes 15 stations, and we provide a little bit of everything of what to expect potentially in a med school or PA MMI, so that students kind of get a feel for that. And so we give them extensive rubric. We sit down and coach them as well too, and find ways to help students improve and grow from that, so that when they go to their interviews, they can actually, shine and do really well. So the other thing too, I don't know if you all noticed in the pictures before, when I first started off, our students are wearing suits. And that is one of the, I say it's a requirement whenever we do the interviews or they have to do presentations. So it is part of their dress code. And part of that is because we want students to get used to dressing professionally, that you are going into the health profession, and so it's that way when you wear your suit, you're not feeling like uncomfortable the first time. You've actually worn the suit quite a bit, and when you go to your interviews, you actually feel a lot more comfortable in that. So there's also, as I often refer to, like there's a method to our whole madness about that. So and it's actually pretty fun to see when we go on these field trips. So our students are wearing their like regular like jeans and stuff, but when we get to the school, we stop. So before we get to the school, we stop somewhere and we all get dressed up and we're wearing our business attire. So when we start walking the schools, everyone's turning heads. They think that our students are often like interviewing, and so we're just there visiting. And so one of the cool, awesome compliments from my colleagues is that your students are so dressed sharply, and they always look really sharp, and they ask great questions. And so that's like one of the biggest compliments for my colleagues that I get, is that our students are always very sharp, and they often like turn heads on campus. Like you'll see folks like, oh my gosh, who are these people in suits? So it's pretty awesome. One of the nice things that we get to do is we get to travel with our students to see medical schools and physician assistant programs as well too. And so what's really nice is that we get to show students the culture of different campuses, so they can understand like what that environment is like and what does their curriculum look like, and they also get to meet the people who they might be going to school with. So our alums sometimes are there and they meet with our students and are very accessible in that aspect, and so they provide like tips about what to do or what's their life like once they've already started school there. So it's kind of a nice way to kind of engage with our alums as well too. The other thing too is we have med school deans come to our campus. So this was about, oh my gosh, 3 weeks ago, we had 10 medical school deans fly from different parts of the country to specifically learn what our students are doing. They get to see them presenting. They also get to engage with them. So students get to meet with 4 different med school deans that they rank on who they want to meet with. And so it's like a little 30-minute like speed dating exercise where they get to actually engage and ask the questions that they normally wouldn't be able to have access to that. So we don't do like the big health professions fair or anything like that. We just kind of do a more small, intimate setting to prepare our graduate students for feeling more comfortable for the interviews. And so they find that helps get the nerves out as well too, because they've had that practice as well too. So we do provide MCAT support. in the sense where students get to be part of a community and take the MCAT prep that we partnered with Kaplan. Sorry, I was thinking like Kaplan. And so right now, because of the ongoing pandemic, we've been virtual because of that, but we're hoping to bring back the MCAT prep instructors back on campus. So we'll probably be doing that in the fall. If everything goes as planned. For those who are interested in our pre-PA post-bac program, our PPA students get their GRE tuition included with their KGI tuition, so they don't have to pay out of pocket for that. I talked about the interview coaching. As far as clinical experience, I do have another slide upcoming where I go a little bit more in depth about what does those experiences look like. Research and all of that stuff. I will be talking about that. I kind of already covered some of the other stuff, so let me just jump ahead here. So in the fall, I put together volunteer opportunities for students to get involved. So when I got here to KGI, I noticed that a lot of students were already involved with a lot of different things here. So what I decided to put together is, you might be familiar with like Rush Week, right, for an undergrad, but it's not like that, but something similar where all of the different nonprofit organizations, student clubs, and anything that I believe that pre-health students might be interested in doing, we host them here on our campus during lunch. I get, you know, like Chipotle or something like that for students to have their lunch and get to listen and meet the volunteers and the program coordinators for those specific entities. So we have something for everyone's interest. We do have a mentor-mentee program. Because of the pandemic, there are some virtual opportunities that are still kind of happening because of the situation. So we do have Schools on Wheels. CoVET is also like virtual tutoring for folks. We do also offer the opportunity for students to network and get some research with the community as well. So there is the C-Tree Community Translational Research Institute, and so this is diabetes research with the community of Pomona. So they partner with Claremont Graduate University students as well too, and so they put together these like research projects, and students help with collecting that data, and they get to meet with community members. So we've had alums that get hired on after they finished our program to kind of continue to see that research out. So there are those opportunities. We do have something for seniors who have an interest of working with seniors, excuse me. I'm hoping that they get to come back in the fall, but in the meantime, it's just been virtual networking with the seniors, showing them how to use Zoom and how to access technology with that. But Mingle and Munch has been an opportunity for students to, I call it like it's a retirement community that gets to do a lot of social events, and so our students help with providing a lot of support to their like outings. They have like senior prom, bingo, they have a lot of entertainment and things like that. So our students provide a lot of assisting with that. In terms of the clinical, one of our alums created a nonprofit student scribes organization where she finds volunteers, trains them, and also places them in different small medical clinics for students to get experience. And so once they graduate with their degree, they're able to get hired on by the clinic, which is really nice. So she just decided to do this in undergrad, and when she came here, we learned about it. So we invite her every year. So she's now second year in med school, actually a rising third year in med school, so she's still working with that nonprofit, and it's just a really good opportunity for students to get that clinical exposure and get the training as a scribe. Our students also take part in what's called a Pomona Free Clinic. So this is both a lot of public health education and also to gain some clinical exposure. So our students put together a free health clinic, and they partner with the School of Pharmacy students, and they also work with a physician and a pharmacist to help provide some like basic health care to the surrounding community in Pomona. So they kind of do this like about every 3 months or so. They put together the clinic. Because of the pandemic, they had to flip everything virtually. So now they kind of moved into a hybrid where they do some things in person with the community. They also do diabetes prevention and outreach, and then they put together recipe books with the community. They also teach medical Spanish to the current students who want to learn terminology to be able to work and help with the surrounding Pomona community as well too. So they do a lot of fun things. Our students also take part in volunteering at Casa Colina, which is a non, how do I describe it? A non-emergency medical site. So you don't get urgent care, but it's more so like rehabilitation where you can get physical therapy, occupational therapy. So our students also volunteer and can do some rotations there as well. As far as student-run organizations, it varies every year. We do have, in its third year now, LMSA, which is our Latinx Student Medical Association group that's designed to also help partner with all these other entities to provide support and help create awareness from students that are underrepresented in medicine as well too. So hopefully this gives you kind of a sampling of what to expect for both leadership, clinical experiences, and community service. So I call this VIC Week, so everyone knows to expect VIC Week in the fall. So a little bit more about our program structure. So as I mentioned, our post-bac programs are a one academic year long. And so we have both PPC and pre-PA, which is specifically for our pre-PA students. The difference between the two is that our students that are interested in going into PA can do up to 1,000 hours of clinical hours because we've partnered with Cope Health Solutions. And so this is an entity that has started off actually, my gosh, I want to say about like 12 years or so. And so the students that apply and get accepted get trained to be clinical care extenders. So they don't do a whole lot, but they do provide some like ambulatory work. They do like basic intakes. What is it called? I'm sorry, like I'm just drawing a blank here. They do basic ambulatory, like they move patients as well. They take vitals, temperature checks, all of those things. So they get trained in that. So students can participate in that without being in our programs, but those who are specifically in our pre-PA program are designed to have at least 1,000 hours with that clinical support. And so our students have like a special application code where it waives their fees to apply to the program, and so they get expedited through their like screening process, and then they start off their training. And so students that in our program can often start like within a few weeks after starting our program. So it's just a really good opportunity for students to gain that clinical exposure. And Cope Health Solutions here in California has allowed folks to still go on and do their clinical experience even on because of the pandemic as well. So it's been like the only ones that have allowed volunteers to do their like shadowing. So what's really nice is that they also allow students the opportunity to do different rotations within the hospital or clinic site. Now, depending on the clinic site, students may be able to go through all of those different hospital rotations as if they were medical students. So it's really nice. And a lot of students that have participated in this program have found it very helpful. The other thing too is that it's gotten so popular that a lot of our incoming students into our program have already done this before and kind of moved up the leadership rankings. So it's just been kind of really nice to see all that happen. So I know we're also coming up on time, but I do want to spend some time talking about our curriculum. So I did mention that these are graduate level science courses, and so our students are learning the other side of medicine. I did put some of our courses here for you to take a look at that as well. So our certificate program is 24 units. And so typically students will take about 12 to 15 in the fall and 12 to 15 in the spring as well too. Now, what's really nice for our pre-PA students, we do have some of our faculty who teach some undergrad courses in the summer here at KGI. So this is really nice. So students have taken their courses with our professors through the academic year, and they can take human anatomy, physio, microbiome, biochem in the summer. And some students really want to take medical terminology, which is offered in the fall as well too. So that's specifically for our pre-PA students. We've had PPC students as well take our medical terminology, and they found that very helpful in combination with the Pomona Free Clinic's medical Spanish clinic that they have. So it's just been a really nice, like, full circle view for folks here. So I've talked quite a bit about the program experience, where we do take our students to go travel and see. We go to Arizona. Last month we took them to Nevada to visit 3 different medical schools. We sometimes alternate and also take students to Northern California. So I guess if I would say in total, it's about 8 to 10 different schools that our students get to see. Some of them are local, so we all kind of just drive there. But if we have to take a big motor coach, we do to travel out of state with our students as well too. So hopefully that gives you a glimpse about what to expect from our program, what type of students we're looking for. I always say awesome B+ students is who we're looking for, students that have a growth mindset, who have a willingness to learn and desire to work in teams. And the other thing too, I tell folks is, like, folks who are coachable, meaning like they're interested and eager to want to learn and improve and grow. So those personality types tend to do very well in our environment because they have to work in teams, and they also learn to lead and also learn to follow as well too, and take direction. So I think it's really great. So I'm gonna leave it at that. Let me know if you have any questions. I think I have my contact information. Oops. Do we have time for our summer programs, Lexi?
Yes, we have about almost 10 minutes.
Oh, perfect. Okay, awesome. So let me just give you a quick note about our summer programs, because this also excites me, because it allows students to have, like, what I call, like, the best of our academic year long in the small segments that we offer for summer. So we do have application boot camp, which is a 5-day interactive workshop. So this is designed for students that need help with all of their materials for applying to health profession schools. So we provide highly personalized one-on-one advising. We provide all the support, meaning we provide guidance on how to draft the personal statement, how to brainstorm through that, and then we provide coaching to get you through completion of the personal statement. Unfortunately, we're not ghostwriters, I'm sorry, but we do provide a lot of help and support and coaching, and we serve as cheerleaders to kind of get you through the entire process in 5 days. So we've had students who come in with their materials on day 1, and by the next day they've, like, revamped everything based on the support and guidance that they received from us. We also help students with school selection. So sometimes students say, I'll go anywhere that the school takes me, but there's also certain things that you have to keep in mind and where you might be a better fit for. So we provide that coaching as well too, as well as interview coaching. We do tend to have students who are a little bit more on the shyer side, and so they need help, like, articulating the accolades that they've done and experience with that. So we provide that type of support as well too. Here are our session dates. And then Summer Explore Health Professions, our other program that Dr. Kim and I run in the summer. And so we provide a student doctor speaker highlights, where you get to speak with students that are already in those respective programs. And so this is more of an exploratory of the health professions. You also get to meet with professionals, and you also get to meet with program deans or directors from these respected programs. And so we do have 2 sessions for this. Because of the pandemic, we haven't been able to have students go back through the how can I say, we used to have students do their, like, mini shadowing sprints of different health professionals. So we're not sure where we're at yet, if we can actually have students do that this summer, but we are working with co-pal scholars, so I mean, it's all kind of up in the air right now. We don't know for sure, but in terms of like getting the exposure and being able to be immersed and understand what to expect from different health professions, I think this opportunity is really good for students that want to kind of understand what do the other health professions do and kind of meet people from those respected professions as well too. So here are the dates as well too. And I have a picture. This was pre-pandemic, so 2019. I keep forgetting to take the screenshots of folks that are online doing their programs. And then I have my contact information here in case you have any questions or you want to meet with me. I'll also put it in the chat as well too. And I'm happy to take on any questions that you have. Thank you all you're all troopers. I was trying to get everything as much as possible to you, so I have a tendency to talk quite fast. So hopefully it wasn't too fast. Thanks for being here. See you later, Julie. Any questions? I guess that means I did such a good job, Lexi, that they don't have questions.
Thank you so much, Elba. Like we both said, you're also welcome to ask us any questions later. So if something comes up that you want to know about, email either of us anytime. Elba's really good about like the program content and everything she talked about today. So probably your best contact for those questions. But if you want to talk about the admissions process, including summer, deadlines, anything like that, please feel free to reach out. And if you do decide you want to apply for either program, and you would like an application fee waiver, I can give you that as well. So feel free to reach out to me. And I don't know, Elba, if I missed this, you might have mentioned, we did remove the enrollment fees for the summer programs. So now it's just an app fee, no program fee.
Yes, that's right. And I was thinking about, we did remove the fees for the online programs.
Yes.
For the online ones. So if you wanted to do the online program, that is free. But for the in-person, there, because we do take you to different places, so we do have to have those program fees to be able to drive you to those places that we take you to. So yeah, very excited for you all to be here. Let me know if you have any questions. I know I covered a lot of content, so I think I answered everyone's question in the talk as well too. So thanks so much for being
I just
here.
wanted to know, when is the application deadline for this program?
For which one?
The Postbac?
For the Postbac, I would recommend that you submit your app before the end of June, so that you can go through the interview process and then kind of get a decision. So we actually do a pretty quick turnaround. Once you've interviewed, the committee kind of looks at the files and casts their votes. And so students get to have their decision within 2 weeks after they've interviewed. Happens pretty quickly. So I would say like no later than June. We're on a rolling admissions. We've had a couple of folks who like realize, oh my gosh, I need to do a postbac, and then they apply like the week before orientation. So we've had some folks do that. So I would say the sooner that you know, the better. So I think that would be more helpful with your planning.
Okay, thank you so much for the advice and the webinar.
You're welcome. Take good care.
Yes, thank you all so much for joining.
Thanks.
Have a good rest of the day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.